Welcome back, friends. So in the series on emerging trends in human resource management, we learnt of employee experience as an emerging trend. So now we are going to discuss about another very interesting topic or a trend known as design thinking. Now you must be thinking that what has a design to do with human resource management? Because when we say design, what does it mean? What does design mean to you? Some drawing, some architectural point of view aspect of anything? But design thinking is a very recent approach, and it is known as a process for solving problems by prioritizing the consumer's needs above all else. And it relies on observing with empathy how people interact with their environments, and it employs an iterative, hands-on approach to creating some innovative solutions. So design thinking is not only limited to, say, the designing fields or architecture. It is also applicable in music, in marketing, in human resource management. So whenever we think out of the box, whenever we create innovative solutions, it is nothing but design thinking. And the most important aspect of design thinking is that we put the end user at the first place. If I am a businessman, it is my organization, I am producing certain products, right? So what I am thinking primarily is of profits, how to reduce the cost of production. That is my primary motive, and that is what I keep in mind. But when it comes to design thinking, what I am thinking is not of my profits, but how the end user is going to perceive my product. What problems will be faced by my customer while dealing with my products or my services, and how I can improve upon the designs, the processes, the services, whatever the case may be, by being empathetic. So the entire focus of design thinking has shifted from profits to the end user, the customer's thought process. What is his perception about my product? So that is the basic concept of design thinking. It is being widely used in many areas. So at the core of design thinking is that the intention to improve your products by analyzing and understanding that how the users interact with the product and investigating the conditions in which they operate. So now the focus has shifted from cost saving to how that particular product is used by the end user or the customer, and also on the conditions in which the customer is operating. And the core of design thinking is the interest and ability to ask significant questions and challenging your assumptions. So assumptions means assuming things as they are, taking things for granted. Okay, this problem is this, okay, this is the solution. That is the traditional thought process. But in design thinking, you challenge these assumptions. You ask significant questions. And instead of focusing on what I want my product to be, I want to know from my customer what he wants and how he perceives to use that particular product. So this is a very interesting concept, and how it is used in human resource management, we are going to discuss it. But before that, let's understand the 4 principles of design thinking. The first principle is the human rule. It states that no matter what the context, all design activity is social in nature. So the key word here is social, and any social innovation will bring us back to the human-centric point of view. That is the core of design thinking, that every design must have a social innovation, which means that at the back of our minds, whatever solution we are finding for a problem, it has to have a human-centric point of view. That is the first principle of design thinking. The second principle of design thinking is the ambiguity rule. So the ambiguity rule states that ambiguity is inevitable and it cannot be removed or oversimplified, but experimenting at the limits of your knowledge and ability is crucial in being able to see things differently. So it means that ambiguity will be there. We cannot remove it, and we cannot always simplify certain things. At times things are complex and every task or every problem cannot be simplified. But what can be done is that we have to start experimenting. We have to challenge our knowledge. What additional can we do? How can we solve this problem in a better way? And that is the ability to see things differently. Also associated with what I stated in the human rule, having a more human-centric point of view. That is the ambiguity rule of design thinking. The next rule is the redesign rule. Now this states that all designs are redesigned. So while technology, social circumstances may change and evolve, the basic human needs remain unchanged. So I stated this earlier also, that human needs are evolving. We are, having a transforming HR, but the human needs, they are still unchanged. We all want respect. We all want to be valued. We want to contribute to our organization, and at the end of the day, we want money. But now, in the design thinking approach, we essentially only redesign the means of fulfilling these needs. So the means of fulfilling your needs and desires has been redesigned, but the needs and desires are somewhat similar. But how we fulfill those needs and demands, that is changing or being redesigned. So that is what we mean by the redesign rule. And next rule is the tangibility rule. It means that making ideas tangible in the form of prototypes, it enables designers to communicate them more effectively. So they are converting ideas into a tangible prototype. Prototype is a smaller version of what you plan to do, a low cost version of what you plan to maybe design or produce. So tangibility rule states that you make your ideas tangible so that you can communicate effectively. Now, design thinking tackles certain complex problems. How? It has some 5 phases, which begins with the first phase of empathizing. The first phase of design thinking, tackling problems, is empathizing. So, do we empathize with a product, a machine, an instrument? No, we empathize with humans. So, that is why we stated that it is a human-centric point of view. So, in the first stage of design thinking, we gain an empathic understanding of the problem that you are trying to solve, and it involves consulting experts to find out more about the area of concern through observing, engaging, and empathizing with people to understand their experiences. So, it is very important to understand what people are going through, what their problems are. So, only then you will be able to, give a solution to their problem. So, this is the first phase, empathizing. So, empathy is a very powerful tool, I must say. It allows the design thinkers to set aside their own assumptions about the world to gain an insight into users and their needs. So, we can understand another human being only if we are empathetic towards him or her. Without empathy, we cannot understand what the other person is wanting, what the other person needs, what the other person's problems are. And until and unless we understand the people's problems, we won't be able to give them solutions. So, empathy is very important. So, a substantial amount of information is gathered at this stage to develop the best possible understanding of the users, their needs, their problems that underlie the development of that particular product. So, it helps us to gathering some information that what people are facing, what they want, and what problems they are facing with the existing particular product. Only then we'll be, able to solve that problem and design something new. The second stage is defining. It means reframing and defining the problems again in a human-centric way. So, in this phase, we put together the information that we created and gathered during the first phase of empathizing. We then analyze the observations and synthesize them to define the core problem. So, by gathering the information in the empathy phase, we now define what the core problem is. And this defining of core problem helps the designers gather great ideas to establish the features, functions that will allow them to solve the problems with minimum difficulty. The next phase of design thinking is ideating. So now the team members are well aware of the core problem that they generated during the previous phase. So now the team members can start to think outside the box to identify the new solutions to the problem statement that was created in the previous phase, and they can now start looking for the alternative ways of viewing that problem. Now that problem in fact is viewed through certain alternative ways, and it also leads to creating as many ideas as possible in the ideation sessions or the brainstorming sessions, where the entire team comes up with ideas of how to solve this problem. So that is the ideating phase. The next very important phase of design thinking is prototyping. So here the team produces various inexpensive and scaled down smaller versions of the product that they plan to produce. So they can be investigated for problem solutions generated in the previous stage. So prototypes may be shared and tested within the team itself, and you can get certain feedback of how that product is being perceived, or it can be used in other departments or on a small group of people outside the design team. So this is what we say is an experimental phase, which aims to identify the best possible solution for each of the problems that are identified during the first 3 stages. This is an experimental phase where we identify that what is the best possible suitable solution for each problem. And these solutions are implemented within the prototypes, and one by one they are investigated, and then they are either accepted or rejected, or they may be improved on the basis of the user's feedback. Then now you get a clearer view of how the real users would behave, would perceive, would think when interacting with the end product. And last is the testing phase, developing a testable prototype solution to the problem. Here, rigorous testing of complete product using best solutions is identified during the prototyping phase, and results that are so generated during the testing phase are often used to redefine one or more problems and inform the understanding of users, the conditions of use, and how people think, behave, and feel. So here we develop a testable prototype or the solution to the problem. So how is design thinking helping the organizations? Well, design thinking helps an organization by designing better products, services, processes, strategies, architecture, and experiences. It better understands the unmet needs of people for whom you are creating that design. It can be your customer, clients, students, the end users, etc. So that is important. Then it also reduces the risk that is associated with launching new ideas, products, and services. It generates some revolutionary solutions, not just incremental. Now, what is the meaning of design thinking in human resource management? Or how does the concept of design thinking applicable in the domain of human resource management? Well, it is based on an understanding that the in-depth needs of different stakeholder profiles to conduct design thinking is to firmly put yourself in the shoes of your stakeholder. So the crux of the basic concept of design thinking in HRM is to put yourself in the shoes of your stakeholder. How does your stakeholder can be anyone? It can be any vendor or an employee, right? So what does the employee want? What does your vendor or other stakeholders want from your organization? So that is where design thinking comes in. So the goal of design thinking in HRM is to generate solutions that bring value to all stakeholders. In HR's case, this could be the managers, the employees, or the candidates that experience any part of the HR process. So according to the Society of Human Resource Management, the SHRM, in HR's context, the principles of design thinking are applied to answer some human-centered questions and challenge assumptions. As I already stated, that we are not going on the routine path. We are not accepting things as they always have been, but we are challenging those assumptions, and we are trying to answer the problems, those challenges in a more human-centered manner. It comprises developing an in-depth understanding of people for whom the solutions are being designed and involve them in the process to come up with out-of-the-box ideas, some innovative ideas to enhance their workplace experiences. So design thinking in HR can enable an organization to understand, envision, and design how employees experience work. So what is the perception? What is the vision of employees when they are working? It perceives the employer-employee relationship through talent solution platforms. So this is very important. There is, a great amount of empirical evidences, empirical research has shown that when there is a good employee-employer relationship, there can be enhanced employee engagement, their morale, their dedication, their loyalty of an employee for the organization and for their work itself is improved. So when there is a relationship of trust, fairness, justice, so the employee will definitely behave in a very responsible manner and perform well. So that is how design thinking can help an organization. Then storm, norm and form ideas quickly with employee experience ideas. So the entire process of design thinking is about generating ideas by brainstorming, by taking people's feedbacks and incorporating those ideas into forming solutions, innovative solutions of the problems. Design thinking tackles some complex problems by empathizing, understanding the human needs involved, defining, reframing the problems, ideating, creating many ideas in ideation stage. So as Josh Bersin from the Bersin Associates puts it, design thinking casts HR in a new role. It transforms HR from a process developer into an experience architect. So you are now designing experience for your employees. And we have already discussed how crucial employee experience is. So with design thinking, we can actually design certain programs, we can design certain strategies that can help an employee have a great experience at work. So design thinking empowers the HR to reimagine every aspect of work. The physical environment, how people meet and interact, how managers spend their time, and how companies select, train, engage, and evaluate people. That is very crucial and the core of design thinking. The scope of design thinking in HR. So what is the scope of design thinking in human resource? So the most obvious department that can greatly benefit from design thinking is that of human resources, since it focuses on solving the problems with a people-centric approach. It can potentially help to reinvent HR and put the human back into HR. So human resource management itself is about people, and we want to have solutions that are people-centric. So by focusing on design thinking, we are bringing back the human part in human resource that had become a bit too mechanical. So we are bringing in the human part back in human resource management when we are incorporating design thinking into it. Design thinking can be applied to every function of the HR by identifying and attracting top talent, assigning them the right roles, finding opportunities to transition them into new roles, and retaining talent and developing them into even great assets for the business. General Electric in 2015 made simplification a core business strategy. To achieve this, they implemented design thinking. The HR team uses agile methodologies for product development to help individuals do less and focus more. Similarly, Nestle and Qualcomm incorporated design thinking in their learning and development to ensure that the individual's own work context is the focus rather than it being all about the presenter. So this led to a more engaging work experience that is correlated to better skills retention. HR can benefit from design thinking because by helping HR reinvent itself, it offers exciting methodologies to reinvent each aspect of work. It transforms the traditional process-oriented model to a more people-oriented model in which personalized solutions for employees become possible. It allows non-judgment observation of a situation, facilitates a dialogue that helps identify the root causes, and employs multiple approaches to effective problem solving, and this problem solving is more human-centric, people-oriented. So that was all about design thinking. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. So we'll discuss some more emerging trends in the coming future. Thank you.